Hello and welcome back to my 2024 election prediction, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how political experts believe that Trump will win. Additionally, the betting odds say that Trump will win, as well as some news sources, both left and right-wing sources, believe that Donald Trump will win this election. So without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe in order to join the 12%, and if you want more videos, then hit the like button and we'll get back to the video. So we're going to start off by talking about expert Nate Silver's odds at who's going to win this election. So Nate Silver did believe earlier on that Biden would drop out, which he did. Nate Silver believed that Trump had a 30% chance of winning in 2016. That was one of the highest chances anyone gave him in 2016. And right now, he says that Trump is favored to defeat Kamala Harris with about a 60% chance of victory. This is higher than almost every other source, with the political betting markets having Trump at a 51%, with polling having Trump often losing in the national popular vote, etc. But Nate Silver seems to think that Donald Trump has a better chance than the average person betting on the betting markets or the average reporter will say. But even still, even with Trump having about a 60% chance of winning this election is still too close for many of these states to not be safe states one way or another. With that in mind, the states of Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, New York, Vermont, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, DC, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Maine's 1st District will all go to Kamala Harris without pretty much her having to campaign in any of these states, etc. Some of these states will be closer, these 4 in particular, but they'll still go to Kamala Harris. On the other hand, Trump has some states of his own, being Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Nebraska's 1st, Nebraska's 3rd, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, and South Carolina. And due to Harris picking Walz governor of Minnesota, she gets Minnesota as well. Some of these Trump states will not go to him by completely safe margins as well. So there we go. And now it's 148 to 206, with Harris having the lead after the safe states are put in. However, in this recent New York Times poll, and we know the New York Times is known for a little bit of a left-leaning bias, and this New York Times poll has Trump and Harris neck and neck, but that doesn't really tell the full story. When we look at the actual poll, it has Trump leading in the popular vote. And remember, Republicans in the past, Bush, Trump, and Trump again, usually do better in the electoral college than the popular vote. If Donald Trump wins in the popular vote, there is less than a 1% chance that he will lose the electoral college. So this poll is extremely bad for Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris is expected by almost every source to win the popular vote. The only reason people think Trump has a chance of winning is because he has a good strategy when it comes to the electoral college. That's how he won in 2016. He lost the popular vote, won the electoral college. Same might happen in 2024, but according to the New York Times, Trump is leading in the popular vote. And if that happens, then this map is going to be completely different than what we originally expected. So, with that in mind, if Trump wins the popular vote or even comes close to it, there is no way that Harris will win the states of Florida or Texas, already bringing Donald Trump 70 electoral votes closer to the White House. If we look at betting odds, Harris doesn't really have much of a chance in either of these 2 states. There was some buzz about in 2020 Biden getting one or both of these states, and obviously that didn't happen. 2016, same here, it did not happen. Trump will win in both of these states, already bringing him 12 votes above Kamala Harris. However, Harris has some states of her own, as we've seen in the past, and we'll see in the future. New Hampshire and Maine will go to the Democrats, whereas Maine's 2nd does go to the Republicans, but Nebraska's 2nd goes to the Democrats. So with that all tallied up, Trump is leading by only 6. But you may be wondering, how can I be so sure New Hampshire or Maine are going to the Democrats? Well, first we look at betting markets, which have them significantly going to the Democrats. And then if we also look at polls, I've shown you these time and time again, because there aren't really many new polls in these states, but New Hampshire shows Harris victory. Maine also shows a Harris victory. With that in mind, Trump is still leading, but we must go to the Midwest slash the Rust Belt. And in the Rust Belt, there is one state in particular that is extremely different this election than in the past. Michigan, which voted pretty widely for uncommitted, especially due to areas like Dearborn that protested against Biden's policies and basically Biden's support of Israel. They protested against that, voting uncommitted in the primary. So Harris is trying to essentially balance her chances at victory in Michigan and also her chances of winning the vote for pro-Israel people. So if Harris says something maybe in the debate that people in Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan don't like, or on the other hand that maybe Jewish voters don't like, then she can lose some of these states, particularly she can lose Pennsylvania, especially since already strike one not picking Josh Shapiro, but strike two would be if she says something that alienates Jewish voters in the debate. But on the other hand, she is essentially playing this balancing act with Michigan, and we can see if it's currently working or not. And it really isn't. She's dropped 5% in the last week in the state of Michigan alone. Moreover, in the polls in Michigan, it is not really telling a story of a Harris landslide. In fact, the polls are even, according to one group, and the polls are slightly in Harris's favor, according to Patriot Polling. It does seem like most polls do have Harris in the lead, but not by a lead that you would think she would have in Michigan. So she gets Michigan by a tilt margin. However, Trump has a state of his own, and that state is Georgia. Georgia is a state that is likely going to the Republicans according to the political betting markets, with a 60% chance of going to Donald Trump. Georgia's polls are also telling a similar story where Donald Trump is leading by about 1 percentage point, loses by about 1 in some other polls, leads by 2. So the polls are practically a dead heat. If we look at more polls, Trump used to be leading. Now it seems like Harris slightly takes the lead, but the betting markets do have Trump in the lead in Georgia. So Trump narrowly gets the state of Georgia, bringing himself to 235 electoral votes to Harris's 228. And our next state does tell a pretty clear story for Kamala Harris winning in the state, with that state being Virginia. One of the biggest factors for Virginia likely going to Kamala Harris is historical trends. It went to Clinton by over 5 and went to Biden by over 10. A shift 10 points to the right in this election would be very, very remarkable if you're a Trump supporter and very, very horrible if you're a Harris supporter, because that is likely not going to happen. It's only been 4 years. There will not be a 10-point shift, right? Virginia still has a slight chance of going to the Republicans, being about a 15% chance, but it won't go to Republicans in this election, most likely. The way polling is going, Virginia may have a chance, particularly due to Glenn Youngkin winning in 2021, their governorship race. He's a Republican, but I think since Trump passed up on Youngkin for the VP nominee, I don't think that he really has a chance in Virginia. Had he picked Youngkin, on the other hand, I think he would have stood a chance, but it doesn't seem like he's going to win the state. On the other hand, he gets North Carolina. North Carolina was one of the few swing states that did go to Donald Trump in 2020. It also went to Trump in 2016, but people are viewing that it will more narrowly go to Trump in 2024. In fact, the polls have it going to Donald Trump by about a 0.7% margin, less than a percentage point in North Carolina, but most of the recent polls do have Trump in the lead. One thing that might be dragging him down is Mark Robinson, the candidate for governor. He is very unpopular in the state. He is likely to lose, and he may drag Trump down in the ticket. But honestly, I don't think that's going to happen, because I don't think people down ballot typically drag down the people up ballot. That's very rare. It's usually the people up ballot dragging down the people down ballot. That's what many people were concerned about with Joe Biden running, etc. But in any case, it does seem like North Carolina will go to Donald Trump, bringing him 10 points above Harris. So now we have Wisconsin, which the betting markets have as a 56% chance of going to Harris. It used to be like one of the closest states in terms of polling, but now it seems to be breaking away for Kamala Harris. We can see that Harris leads by about 1.5 percentage points, which is a pretty large margin in a swing state. And so I'll give Wisconsin to Kamala Harris, making it a tied election. And at this point, Pennsylvania, with its 19 electoral votes, essentially decides this election, because whoever gives its 19 electoral votes to will win in the election as a whole. But just in case one of these states goes differently, maybe Georgia, maybe Michigan, etc., I still have to take into account Nevada and Arizona. They're both important in this election. In this current scenario, it is very possible that they won't matter, but in many other scenarios, they will matter, so I should still keep track of them. They usually vote very similarly. Remember, in 2016, they did vote slightly different, but in 2020, they both voted for Biden, and in 2024, they've pretty much had similar odds for voting for Donald Trump. And in their Senate races, they both went to Democrats. Nevada does have a Republican governor, but in the midterms, Democrats typically won in both states. But now it seems like Trump will win in Nevada and Arizona, gaining 3% in the odds in the past week in Nevada and 5.5% in Arizona. Arizona is more likely to go to Donald Trump, but Nevada is still likely going to Trump, bringing him to 268 electoral votes. But finally, we get to Pennsylvania, and this is practically the state that will decide who will win. And in Pennsylvania, the election is extremely close. If you want a fun election to watch, a nail biter, this election will not disappoint. As we can see in Pennsylvania, the polling average is a tie. But in the recent polls, 3 out of 4 of the ones that have someone in the lead, Donald Trump is in the lead. It seems like Trump is gaining ground, and so is Harris, but that's probably because of RFK Jr. dropping out, and him backing Donald Trump will likely lead to more people voting for Donald Trump. Additionally, Harris might still have a tiny bit of a convention boost, but mostly what will affect these polls going forward will likely be the debate. Many people think that Harris will win the debate, but they forget that Trump is very experienced at presidential debates, and last time Harris debated in a presidential debate, she did lose to Tulsi Gabbard. So it is very possible that Trump will win in this debate, giving him the state of Pennsylvania. But let's look at the betting odds, which have Trump in the lead with a 54, almost 55% chance in Pennsylvania, giving him the state and finally giving him the election. 287 to 251, and this is what most people predict will be the final result, 287 to 251. Closer than 2020, closer than 2016, and there we have it. If you want more of these, make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.